Hello, it's Random Jane here, and today we're going to be talking about snails and snail care, and also including later in the video I'll be talking about snail eggs and how to care for them as well. Okay, so here are my snails. These are Cornu aspersums, in other words, garden snails, and these ones are I actually got these from someone local to me, well, semi-local, but these are my 5. They are a bit dirty, and these white things that are crawling on right now are springtails. If you see there, well, you probably can't see them, but there's a bunch in here, and I put them in here to help clean up. That's why this is so dirty. I need to clean this again, but there's a bunch of springtails in here, so I'll probably just clean it and mix it in with a substrate because they just keep everything clean. Not saying that you shouldn't wipe down the edges of your enclosures or whatnot to clean poop off, because obviously snails poop a lot, but yeah, here are my 5. Okay, so first off, we are going to be talking about enclosure size. So first off, this enclosure size houses 5 snails, as I've shown you before. They're just chilling right here. Right here. And I think the rule of thumb for snails is about a gallon or so per snail, or more. I mean, the more room the better, but obviously you have to be careful with what you put in the enclosures, especially in high enclosures, because they could fall and they are very fragile. Their shells are very fragile. So, I use a 32 quart. As shown here, I use a 32 quart, 30 liter Sterilite tub. And it seems to house these guys pretty well. I mean, they obviously move a lot, as you can tell. But, I mean, they're snails, so they like to explore as well. So I gave them some hides in the ground. They like to go in them. I have one right here, but you can't see it that well. And, again, this stuff on here is really hard to tell. I mean, I'm going to clean it. I need to get a clean one of these. But see all the springtails? They're just chilling under and eating up all of that. So I'll have to clean that off with some water in here to get the springtails off and get a new piece of cuttle bone for them. So again, about a gallon or so per snail. Make sure your enclosure has holes in it. I have holes in the top of the lid. You can see it up there, sort of. I have the lid up there, but I think I have this has some holes where the lids are too, but I have plenty of holes at the top of the lid that's up here. Next, we are going to talk about diet and nutrition, calcium, stuff like that. So first off, since I said in the last part, I use cuttlebone. Obviously, you can use cuttlefish, cuttlebone. There's a lot of different things you can use to help them. It keeps them so they have a lot of calcium and gives them strength, especially before their shells and stuff. Especially if for some reason if their shell breaks or cracks, it really helps. But of course, there's other remedies for that as well. But he's climbing up the side. But yeah. I need to get more of this, but obviously there's different brands. Some brands you have to be careful with, but this one has been worked pretty well. I mean, obviously they ate all of it, but I put too much in there as well, probably, so that's my bad. But it's better to give them a little bit extra to make sure they have enough for all of them than none at all. Okay, so now we're going to talk about diet, like food and everything they should eat. Obviously, as you can see down here, I have some arguella. It's a type of lettuce that you can get at Walmart. I also feed that to my bearded dragons. Obviously, they can be picky. Some like it, some don't, because it's not the tastiest, but it gives them something to eat, something new. You can also feed them carrots, other types of lettuce. Some lettuces I think you might have to be careful with. But I can leave a list in the corner. I'll add a picture like right here of some lettuces and stuff, like green leaf lettuce and stuff like that should be okay. Obviously you can feed them like fruits as well, like apples and blueberries. Again, you just have to be careful with stuff like that in moist enclosures like this because they can mold easily. That's why I have springtails in here to help with that. but obviously I keep an eye on that and get rid of it. Any of the things that the springtails do not get, but they are pretty good at their job. Let's see what else. Sorry about this. I'm new to videoing and stuff, and I'm sorry my hand's shaking. But hold on just a second. Like I said, there's a lot of different varieties of foods and all you can feed your snails. And I mean, there's a lot of Facebook groups that you can go on. There's a lot of lists and links to things. I mean, everyone feeds different things to the snails that are different. So I just find what your snail likes and make sure it's good for them, and I'm sure they'd be as happy as ever. Okay, next we're going to talk about substrate and stuff you can put in the enclosure. Let's zoom out. As you can see, sort of, this is coconut husk, or cocoa fiber. There's a bunch of different names for it, but just a normal reptile brand. My dog. Sorry for the background noise. But yeah, this is. I can, hold on just a second. There we go. This is just normal coconut husk. You can get the bricks or the already broken down ones. Either way, it might be better to get the bricks, but personally I just got the bags that are loose of it because it was easier for me. But I think you probably get more with the bricks for cheaper as well. So, but anything you have to make sure anything you get, any substrate, don't have no sand or anything, because that can really hurt your snails, especially at least if it's a lot of it and stuff like that. Next, I also have moss in here. This is just sphagnum moss, or, well, this isn't sphagnum moss, but I used to have some sphagnum moss mixed in with the substrate. It's hard to tell because it's mixed in, but most moss is sheet moss, mosses like that, or mostly any moss that's pretty safe and you get from a safe place. It's pretty good to use in your enclosures and to help keep the areas moist. Well, keep the areas humid, my bad. And keeps them happy, and they love to dig in it as well. Okay, so for hides and like decorations and stuff, you can use like plastics and stuff because obviously they can't really get hurt and stuff like this. This is just a plastic bottle I cut in half and put tape around so the sharp edges or any sharp edges, they can just go in there and hide and just go around if they want. I have been mostly in each corner except for one corner. I did have, you can probably see it up here. It's hard to tell, but this brown thing, I did have this in here, and you can use like the vines and stuff that are supposed to be used for reptiles and stuff. You can put those in your enclosures for snails to climb on. I just personally took it out because they didn't really seem to use it that much. But those are also a good option, especially for smaller snails. Obviously there's all different types of snails, and yeah. So I do have little bottle caps in here of water. Not obviously they will get their water and stuff from the substrate around them because they soak it through their skin. But anything that doesn't seem to have the sharp edges or will hurt them, or anything like ceramic things and harder type objects can be very scary to put in with your snails, because especially if they fall from the lids, because they love to hang on the top of the enclosures. You just have to be careful with that. Unless you put anything like that and put like some sheet moss and stuff on top of it, so that way in case for some reason they do fall, they will land on that and they should be fine, hopefully. But I would just be careful with stuff like that when you put them in your enclosures. Next, we will talk about just snails themselves. Obviously, like I said, these are Cornuospersiums, garden snails. I'm in Virginia, and it is illegal to sell or ship snails across state lines, so you'd have to get ones in your state. Like the giant African land snail, I know a lot of people like them, but they're only legal in the UK. So unfortunately, we cannot have them here in the US, along with a lot of other types of snails. But there's a few different types of snails. I mean, it's not as many as there may be in other states, in countries, but Cornuospersiums are probably one of the largest you can get here in the US. legally. Obviously, even with Cornelius persons, you're not allowed to sell them or ship them across state lines. So if I have any that I wanted to sell for some reason or rehome, I had to find a home for them in my state and not ship them. So yeah, as amazing as it would be to own a giant African land snail, I unfortunately can't own one here. But that is one thing to look up. So just if wherever you live, just look up on the northern wildlife sites and stuff like that, again, or in groups of snail owners in your state or whatever, or province, and just see what kind of snails you're allowed to have, because a lot of people have snails that have babies for some reason, and then they just grow up, and some just you have to find homes for them. So just keep an eye out. Obviously, again, it's different in states and all that, but yeah. Okay, so we're actually going to move on to snail babies and their eggs and how to care for them next. So just give me a second to set everything up. Okay, so here, these are snails that I found a baby a week or two ago in enclosure. Again, you should, if you have multiple snails, even one snail, you should go through the substrate at least once a week to catch any eggs.
Just ignore this part. The audio cut out. Well, didn't really cut out the staticky. Something was wrong with my microphone. It was really static, but it wasn't. You didn't miss too much, really.
Snails are hermaphrodites, which means they have both sexual organs. They're male and female, so they can produce eggs themselves, but that also comes with babies that aren't very good genetics, and it's just not very good to keep snails like that unless you feed them to any reptiles that eat snails. So just keep that in mind when you have snails as well, and be ready for that. And especially if you want to keep snails and have baby snails, just keep an eye on that. So I'm sure going to open this and show you the babies that have hatched so far. We should be really careful because they're everywhere. Also, the little poops, they poop a lot, so keep an eye on that. I'll have to add some more springtails. Obviously, I can't do it with the leg because they can't get up there, but look at all the babies. If you have babies, it's recommended to keep them until 3 to 4 months. That way, then you'll know which ones are runs and you can call off the right ones and be able to have the others as pets or have a good home for them. Make sure they go to a good place. They are super, super tiny. See if I can get a closer look for you. Yeah, they're pretty much like this, a little smaller than my nail. This is my pointer finger. Yeah, they are tiny. They are so cute and curious. But that comes with me when I close the lid. I have to be careful. Be careful because they like that. See, there's already one over here trying to get out. That's one thing. You also be super, super careful. Same thing. I kind of set the same thing up with these snails. I give them springtails. I have springtails in here as well, and I feed them the same. So baby snails are pretty much the same care as adult snails. You just have to be careful. All the babies that eat it. The only thing I use is 6 quart. I put 3 clutches of eggs in here. They're pretty decent sized clutches. So you just have to be careful of how big of an enclosure, how small an enclosure you have.
I'm really sorry, but I'm not sure why the microphone keeps going static, but I really don't want to do the video again since it's my first one, but I really didn't say anything other than, the same care as the adults, so I'm sorry you had to bear with the random statics, and I'm not sure why I kept doing that.
I do
I'm
give
so
them
sorry.
I have some cuddle bone in here as well. It's right under here, right there. There's some snails on it right now. But yeah. I can already see that some of these snails are a little bigger than the others, but they are like this one snail right here is really big. They're decently big. Let's see if I can show it. Sorry, it's hard to see which one is it. It's this one. Actually pretty decent size snail, maybe. Compared to all these other ones, that's a pretty big one. Yeah, honestly, all different kinds. I think I moved most of them out the way. Oh, no, there's one right here. A little sneak. Maybe put it down there. Okay. Hurry up and put the lid on. Nope. I didn't squish any. I'll just make sure. Luckily, I did not. It's just the lid sucks. But yeah, those are how I care for the babies, and then like a little setup. Little 6-quart. Obviously, this is the one under it. The parents. That's the 3rd quart. This is a 6-quart with 3 clutches, and there's about a lot of snails in here. Obviously, I will have to upgrade them as they grow, and I cull some of them and so on. So yeah, just keep an eye on how many snails you have and how they are doing, and you should know very quickly which ones are runts and which ones aren't. But this is my first time, so I will make another video about them when they get older.
Again, the static again, but the same thing. I mean, just snail eggs. Same care. I just put the other 3 clutches, and I'm going to do the same for these 3 clutches and a 6-quart with the same substrate, eco earth, and so on. So really not much of
So
a
these ones
difference,
I
but I
actually just
just
found. I
wanted to show
just
them
went
because they're
through the
pretty
thing.
interesting, and I'm not sure
Another
how
3
many
clutches.
people
These ones are
knew
actually
what
pretty
snail eggs
smaller
look
though,
like.
but they lay them in these like piles. Obviously, you have to be very careful because they're really squishy. I just put some substrate. They aren't staying in here. I'm actually gonna put them in a little 6-quart like that, or smaller or bigger, which not. I don't know how many eggs there are exactly in this one. In this one, but they are these. This is how you know if snail eggs are good. There will be these white pearly color. If you find eggs that are like a yellowish or grossy looking color, then those probably aren't good eggs, and you should squish them or freeze them and throw them away. Or you can actually freeze them and feed them back to your snails. Actually, I'm not sure if that's the same with bad ones, but I know if you don't want snail babies, you can freeze these and then crush them, or crush them and then freeze them and then feed them back to your adults as a calcium or a supplement, just to kind of give them back their energy or anything they lost while laying them. Kind of like how lizards eat their shed or whatnot, I think. Well, it might not be like that exactly, but I'm sorry. It seems like I'm jiggling them around a lot, but they're actually pretty sturdy. Honestly, you gotta be careful with them as well. Just like any other small thing, so you don't squish them. But I have pretty steady hands because I breed geckos here too, so I have to be really careful because there's some tiny babies that hatch here. See, this is the first clutch I found. It's actually really small when I looked through it, and it was just these ones. So I'm thinking maybe the smaller snail I have in here probably laid this clutch, or maybe they just didn't have a lot. But again, white pearly, but actually pretty interesting to look at it. I think it's really cool. I'm not sure if I think butterflies actually would lay their eggs kind of like this, but in lines or something like that. I'm not 100% sure. I'm not a butterfly expert. This is the 3rd clutch. Yeah, again, just check your adult substrate every week for snails eggs like this. Sometimes ones will fall off, so just be careful because they might be loose in the substrate as well, because they stick pretty good together, but sometimes they will fall off. Or the snail, for some reason, will pull away and lay them a little bit farther away from the original clutch. But there's usually pretty much, that's how these look. Obviously, my snail babies, those clutches of eggs are really big, as you can tell. But yeah. So 3 clutches, and I'm just going to set them up like I did before with some cocoa husk and add some springtails just to make sure no mold grows, so the babies will be okay, and just to have it as like a little bioactive kind of thing, like kind of resembling it from the wild where they live and stuff like that. So I think that's pretty much about it. Again, snails drink water through their body, so just be able to spray their enclosures about once a week. Well, not once a week. It just depends because I spray these about once a week, but it's because the substrate just keeps the moisture in a lot, so it makes it humid enough for them. But I will spray them whenever for some reason if it looks too dry, but it stays pretty wet in there for them, so they have a lot of drink. But I'll do it at least once a week or once or every other day, so stuff like that. And just keep an eye on their food because they eat pretty fast, as slow as they may seem to people, but they are pretty fast. As you can see, when my adults are running around, one ended up going up here, and he was in the edges over here. I got him though, luckily. But yeah, thank you all for watching, and of course I'll be adding any links to Facebook groups that I am in that have helped me a lot with the education of these wonderful creatures. And subscribe for more videos like these, and comment below if there's any suggestions of new videos you want me to make, or any other questions you have about snails I may have not covered in this video. But thank you, and have a nice day.